Hey guys, Nemo here, and before we get into anything right here, just for the sake of you who still don't know where exactly to look for the latest on DotP 2013, I think there's three places you really should be looking at, maybe daily. The Wizards website being one of them, Wingspan TT's channel on YouTube, and as well the game facts boards for DOTP 2013. So I think I'll link those three in the description. And if you don't know where to go to check out the latest spoilers and all that, then you should go over there. And also, there seems to be a Facebook page for Wizards that sometimes gets some new screenshots. So anyway, that's that. And let's get into what you're all here for, right? Tier 3. So let's find the first deck right here. And no, that's not it. No, I wish that wasn't tier 3, but no. Oh wait, spoilers. Anyway, here we go. Strength of Stone. Ah, yes. Strength of Stone, lovely deck. I always find it very fun to play this deck. I don't know why, but this deck does have some very cool tricks to it, even though it only has one instant spell. These Slag Storms are definitely very good cards, but it's kind of slow, this deck, and it doesn't have very good 2-drop creature. Actually, it doesn't even have any 2-drop creatures, and that really sets it back a bit. And it's a red deck that's slow, so that kind of. But for the cards it does have really good cards, which makes it kind of weird that this is only a tier 3 deck, but it is. So I don't know what to say there, but hey, of course this Goblin Mountaineer is just a 1-drop, which isn't really good, but you have to play it because it's a 1-drop. You need 1-drops here, so I like having some stuff to boost my guys. It works well with some creatures, such as this guy. He's really an all-star in this deck, by the way. He's your best card, probably, so of course the one act of treason, because I didn't find anything else that I really wanted to put in there. I don't run Magma Phoenix because I don't like it in this deck. This deck is too slow. Usually you're gonna be behind. You're either gonna be behind or you're gonna attack with Claws of Valakut out of nowhere for once and deal enough damage to kill them in like 2-3 turns out of pretty much nowhere, and it's always a surprise like that. But otherwise you're gonna be behind, and getting Magma Phoenix out there is sometimes, you'd rather just have something else that can block and not kill you in the process. So I don't like Magma Phoenix all that much, and I know it's a weird choice, but instead I have Cerebral Eruption because, well, I don't know. I think that Cerebral Eruption, even though it seems really random, in testing it seems that it's less random than Magma Phoenix, and it's also one less mana, and 5 mana really sometimes is just a little bit too slow. Um, I know that sometimes you have to play this multiple times to get it to work, but even then, if you're gonna be stuck on 4 mana, then at least you could have played this twice, where you could have not played Magma Phoenix at all. So if you're not drawing that 5th land, so hey, there you go. Reason I like Cerebral Eruption more for my extra board swipe. So I guess that makes with Fault Line and Slag Storm and Cerebral Eruption, that makes 4 board sweepers. So that's kind of the amount you need in this deck to really make it work, because 3 is just not enough to guarantee that you'll draw one. Anyway, Cyclops Gladiator, obviously a great card, as well as Hero of Oxid Ridge. Those are just all-star. This guy I'm not that happy about, because, well, this isn't really a discard deck or anything, and sometimes he just isn't on low enough card numbers, or you're playing against like Realm of Illusion and he's just drawing more cards, and you're like, oh come on, please just drop low that number of cards so this can be a win condition for me, and it just never happens, and you're just sitting there being sad with Loveborn Muse in hand. And yeah, but other than that, Exilius Scrap Melter is obviously very good. Slowstone Overseer, this here is your win condition. This can also be a win condition. Yeah, so really good cards overall, and that's Strength of Stone for you. So top of tier 3, but only still tier 3. That's my opinion on it. So let's get to the next deck, which is right here. Elves. Guardians of the Wood. Yeah, I'm saying it. This is tier 3 for me. Maybe some people are more lucky with this deck than me. Um, I'm looking at two British fellows in particular, but I don't know. I don't think this is a great deck. Um, but it is very high in the tier 3, so it's like, it's average but playable. Like, and I get some lucky wins with this, sure, but not enough, not consistently enough that I can think this is a really good deck. I don't run the fogs because my build is the green-black build. I know that in the past I have run the mono green build, and I would definitely recommend playing the fox in the mono green build. First of all, because you don't have that many cards to choose from, and they're better in comparison. But second of all, because the mono green build is a total damage race. Like, you don't have any removal, so all you really want to do is just kill the opponent before he can kill you. And if that's the case, then the fog is going to be really useful to you there. But other than that, I mean, this deck can actually get a board state, so you don't completely just rely on outracing the opponent. So the fogs aren't that useful there. Plummet, obviously don't want that. Only one of these is not in there because I think 4 of them is a little bit much, and I definitely want my mana ramp dude. But I also think that 4 of these is gonna be a little bit much. So I took out one of each. I don't like these guys. I know that they eat removal spells for breakfast, but like no, they don't eat them for breakfast. I mean, the opponents like to kill them for whatever reason, but I don't think they're good enough really. And this deck is fast enough that in the 2 free turns that they need to grow, I can already do enough other useful things just by having a bigger creature faster. So I don't like them that much. And well, they compete with like this free drop and this free drop. Really, what would you rather drop? These two or one of these? Or even this one? Come on, I mean, these are all game winners and these aren't. So only one of these, because I've ran into occasions too often where I have an Elvish Promenade in hand and just nothing on the field. So that's pretty sad. And the same goes for the Heedless one, which is the reason I took one of them out. Only have 3 of them in. And also because I don't want more than 4 4-drops, I guess, more than 5 4-drops actually, because there's the Elvish Promenade as well. I was thinking of also getting one more out of there, but no, come on. Because this way I have, along with this guy, I have 4 guys that grow bigger from having more guys, and I think that's a really nice number actually. So 1 Essence Drain, you don't need that many 5-drops, so I don't run more than 1 Essence Drain, but I think the Essence Drain is not actually a bad card. It's one of those cards that you really think is bad, but then turns out to be really good actually. But I want to keep the mana curve low on this deck, so I don't run more than 1. And this guy, because, well, I know he doesn't always work, but he's just so good, man. When he does work, he's really good. So I can't leave him behind. Epic Proportions, well, I like the idea, suddenly making a small elf really big, but it just doesn't fit the deck. Same goes for the Hydra Omnivore, doesn't fit the deck at all. So that's my deck, and that's elves. Next deck is gonna be, this one might surprise you, and we're gonna go 2 steps to the right again. We're gonna go into Dragon's Roar. You've seen this deck for me. Yeah, this deck is tier 3 for me. I know that's gonna surprise some of you. But the way I've set it up now, it works well enough that it's gonna be in tier 3. Also because the win-loss numbers that I'm getting right now with this deck. I really, I'm glad that I was able to figure this deck out and that it actually performs a lot better than I gave credit for at first. And especially compared to my mono red version that I was using before the expansion came out. Really like this deck, but you've already seen it, so not much to talk about. I use pretty much every dragon except this guy. This big Furyborn Hellkite dude. Don't use him. I don't like the Gravediggers. They're by the way, one of the oldest creatures in this game. There you go, little trivia for you guys. Other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. So big dragons, keeping them all in, and yeah, everything else just has a purpose and tries to not be vanilla or aggro-y. Just try to stall until you can get the big dragon. That's pretty much everything to say about this deck. So, and these guys are nice to catch your opponent by surprise, and also to have more swamps in the deck. So let's go to the next deck then. This is also might be a little bit of a surprise that it's this low in the tier list, but I have an explanation for that, and let's see if we can find it real quick here. I think it's, yeah, there it is. Grave Whispers. So it's right in between Strength Stone and Elves there. Should have seen it earlier then, I guess. Was looking over it. But yeah, Grave Whispers doesn't perform that well in my tier list, and that's a reason. Well, namely, my tier list is consistent out of the win-loss ratio that I get from playing against random people. And playing against random people means that sometimes, well, more often than not, you're gonna be playing against people who aren't as good as, well, as I am. um, Not to brag or anything, but that's just the case. And really, the deciding factor on how well this deck performs is how good the opponent is that you're facing. Because the better the opponent, the more sense it makes to use Grave Whispers as a deck. Because they're gonna have better cards in their deck, first of all, so you're gonna be discarding better cards. Um, they're gonna try to trick you, which doesn't work as well against this card and all that. This is really a deck that just kind of punishes skillful players, I would say, almost. So this is one of those decks that I might use against someone if I knew that they were good at the game, but against random players, it's not a very good, great deck to use. Well, I hope that explains why this is so low in the tier list, but it's not as bad a deck as the numbers, the win-loss ratio right here will make it seem to be. You could against a skillful player, you could regard it as tier 2 material, I would say. So yeah, and another deck that kind of has that same thing is a deck that actually has the exact same win-loss ratio for me right now, and that's Auramancer. And that's well, this is kind of the opposite, because this doesn't care about how skillful the player using it is. This is a very luck driven deck, and again, for someone like me, who usually is more skilled than the opponent, it doesn't make much sense to use a deck that relies on luck, rather than a deck that you can use your skill in to try and trick the opponent and win that way. And this deck doesn't really make use of someone who is like well, a little bit more skilled than average. Like, I feel so stupid talking like this, but you guys know what I mean, right? I mean, I don't want to seem like a huge ego tripper or anything, but that's just the way it is. And I'm trying to explain why these win-loss ratios for these two decks are a little bit lower than you might expect them to be. And really, Auramancer is a good deck against someone who is equally skilled, because it's totally luck based. So the one time you're gonna win, the other time you're not gonna win, and like the 1.21 win loss condition for this deck is gonna remain relatively the same against. It doesn't really matter how good the other player is, unless they're like a total noob who doesn't know to use an instant spell on your turn when you're trying to enchant to do it. But pretty much everybody knows to do that. So, but I do think, yeah, of course, you're gonna get some free wins against people who do it. But other than that, yeah, it doesn't really matter that much how skillful the player you're playing against is when you're using this deck. So it's better than it seems from the win-loss ratios, just because those win-loss ratios are from random people I meet online and play against. So yeah, that's my little story here. Anyway, yeah, I guess I showed you the deck. There's not much to say about this. This Refeather Teffer has to be in there, obviously. These guys are a little bit too big. I only want one Gigantic form because I want to keep the mana curve low, and 2 5-cost spells is pretty high already for this deck, because it's pretty fast deck actually for an Aura deck. So yeah, and other than that, just some random stuff I don't want in the deck. Only want 2 lifelink cards, because 3 is a bit much, and now I have one mana enchant. So I have 8 spells for 1 mana. I think that's a pretty fine number, really. So yeah, did I actually talk enough about Grave Whispers? Well, I've had my chance, so I guess you guys have seen the deck list, so I don't need to talk about it really a lot. But yeah, that's my tier 3, and I wanted to talk about this really quickly, because I kind of want to add on tier 4, and I know you probably will have seen that in the title of this video, but hey, whatever. It's not gonna be surprised, but yeah, I'm gonna add on tier 4 because well, tier 4 is gonna be there's only like 3 decks left, and these are really the worst of the worst decks that I really feel that belong in tier 4. So yeah, let's just get to it, I guess. Now this next deck is kind of a little bit in between. So this could be tier 3, could be tier 4, could be like tier 4.5 or 3.5, however you want to see it. But yeah, Apex Predators a little bit in between. But it's uh, I don't know. It's like the developers of the game on purpose said, well, the green deck in the first game was so powerful that we definitely don't want this deck to be too powerful this time around. But this deck, just compare, like for instance, the giant groves to the other buff spells in the other green decks. Why? Just why are these so bad? Why? Doesn't make much sense. But hey, yeah. So I do run these Heartwood storytellers in this deck just because for the reason I said, like these giant groves aren't good. I mean, they're okay, but they're not great. And other than that, you have this fresh meat, which can be quite good, but not often. And these overruns will win you the game anyway when you cast them, so it doesn't matter if they draw a card after that most of the time. And other than that, you only have like these arrows, which, well, you almost never draw anyway. So my point is, you have mostly just creatures, so you're gonna profit a lot more from the Heartwood storytellers in this deck than you would if you had them in the Tree Folk deck. So yeah. On that, yeah, I'm running the Hunted Wampus. There, I said it. I said it correctly. There you go. Unlike in the deck build video where I stumbled over my words, but I like him in this deck. Just I don't need to play him, but I just don't like any of these guys. They're terrible. So he's really like the 60th card in this deck for me, but he's alright. And yeah, other than that, yeah, just that's the build. Not much else to say about it, and it's kind of disappointing how bad this deck is. I wish there would have been a better deck sooner, but hey, I was really pleased with Forest Fury then. So you can pretty much never play Apex Predators again now that Forest Fury is there. Hey, anyways, let's move on to the next deck, and that's gonna be, well, Trinity of Elements. I feel like this is probably the worst deck, but right now the win-loss condition for this deck is better than the other deck because you hardly ever play the other deck anymore because I become so frustrated with it. Not much has changed actually. You can just view the deck build video for my Trinity of Elements deck. Oh hey, what's this doing in there? I must have clicked that on, or I was just testing. I don't know, but it's supposed to be like this. There you go. Save changes. So yeah, my Trinity build, just as ever. Not much else to say about it. Try to combo it off. I don't like these big guys that don't do much fast enough. I like to get my mana out. Don't need these things because I have plenty of mana ramp that I don't need it. And just try to combo it off and try to get a win some way or another. And it's really fun to play, but it doesn't do very well. And yeah, I wish this deck did better. But I guess it's also the format. It's not just that this deck doesn't have the best cards. Um, it's like it's a combination of factors that make this deck not as good as it should be. Like the mana tapping, there's no mana tapping choice. Like if that was in this game, then this deck would perform a lot better. But unfortunately, there isn't, so it's always gonna screw you over, especially with this deck. And then there's also like most of the decks in this format are aggro decks. This deck doesn't perform ultra well against those decks. I feel like it performs better against control decks. But hey, there you go. Just my opinion on it. So let's get into the last deck actually for tier 4, and that's gonna have to be Cloudburst. And like I said, I think that Cloudburst is probably better than Trinity of Elements, and it may not. I'm gonna admit I'm not the best Cloudburst player. Like I got so frustrated with this deck at first. And to be honest, this may just be the deck I've played the most out of all the decks, just trying to get this to work, and it never would. And I'm just happy having a positive win-loss ratio with this deck, and I'm not gonna get much higher than that. This time reversal is a card that I actually never gave a chance, and I should probably try it one of these days. But hey, next game is coming, so never mind that. Well, I'm running Cloudburst pretty much the same as Daisho is, I think. So not much to see here. Yeah, I also don't have much to say about it. I just the cards I don't like are not in the deck really. So but so long. It took me such a time to get even a positive win-loss ratio with this deck that I almost don't feel like ever playing it anymore, just out of fear that I'm gonna drop below the positive win-loss ratio and then I have to play it more just to try and get it, because all my other decks have a positive win-loss ratio, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm weird like that, but anyway, the few times that I have recorded myself playing this deck, I got some lucky wins, which really maybe I should always record myself when I'm playing this deck, because then maybe I do better with this deck. But I don't know. Um, I'm not saying that Cloudburst is the worst deck in the game. I'm really saying that Trinity is probably the worst deck in the game. However, I got a little luckier with Trinity overall, so I guess there you go. But these are just really try hard decks. It just don't work very well. And I know that some people like to say that Cloudburst is really an average deck. I guess those people play more two-headed giant or anything, because in 1v1 these are the worst decks. And I can see how they would be better in other formats. But we are really talking about 1v1 with this tier list. That's something you should remember. So hey, there you go. That's my tier list. That's all. That's all, folks. Badabadi. Um, yeah. So tier 3, tier 4, and one video. And I hope you guys enjoyed. My name has been Nemo. My name will still be Nemo next time. And I will see you then. Peace out. Yeah.